What would you say to your friends to keep them from drinking and driving? Well, that's the question we asked Sacramento area middle and high school students. Write a public service announcement that we can run on TV to keep people from drinking and driving. The response was overwhelming. 172 scripts and storyboards filled with creativity, resolve, and emotion. From stick figures to works of art. It didn't matter because it was the message we were looking at, and one idea in particular captured our attention. 3 faces alternating through lines of dialogue to complete a thought. Starting with a close-up, they could be your neighbor, your child, or even you or me. They talk about how they used to be teenagers, just like us, about how they played sports, hung out with their friends. As the camera pulls out wider, you realize that these are not people lamenting a loss of innocence, but rather prison inmates serving time for manslaughter. The 4 students who came up with the idea didn't know yet that their entry had been chosen. We wanted to surprise them at their school assembly with the finished PSA. But first, a KCRA 3 crew began the challenge of casting and shooting the spot. And they had an idea that might make it even more powerful. That led us to Terry Thornton, information officer at the California Department of Corrections.
They contacted our office and asked us about the possibility of using real inmates rather than just actors portraying inmates. And at first I didn't know whether we could or not because there's about 162,000 people in state prison in California. So how do you kind of narrow that down?
With the help of warden's assistants at California state prisons in Solano and Chowchilla, Terry found our participants. What began as a class project for 4 students now included 4 inmates, serving serious time and telling their own personal stories. 8 voices collaborating from opposite sides of barbed wire fences and concrete walls. 8 voices who know they can't bring back the victims, but who desperately want to do the next best thing to keep it from ever happening again.
I was a teenager just like you.
Just like you.
Just like you.
I wanted to be an English professor.
I wanted to get a good job.
I played the piano and the
I
violin.
was looking forward to getting married.
I went out to celebrate the end of the school year.
I got in my car after I'd been drinking.
I killed a 33-year-old man.
And I killed my friend.
And I killed an innocent
And I killed a
woman.
mother and her 2 kids.
Don't be a teenager like me.
Like me.
Don't be a teen like me.
Don't drink and drive. Don't be a teenager like me.
Why did the inmates agree to be a part of it?
I'd like to think that someone might be able to listen to this and be able to maybe make an alteration in their life.
No one has to end up here for drunk driving. It's something you choose to do. You choose to get behind the wheel and you choose to make bad decisions, impaired decisions.
When I woke up in the hospital, I didn't know what had happened. I just remember feeling them stitching my eye up here. They were puzzled. They said, "You don't know what happened?" I said, "No." And they said, "You were in a car accident." I said, "What happened?" And they said, "Well, you killed someone." They said, "There were 2 other victims that they're not going to make it." I wouldn't expect to be out until I'm in my mid-60s.
All the urges you get to do stupid things as a kid, I avoided because I didn't want to end up in a place like this. All it takes is 1 second. It doesn't take a lifetime of crime to end up in prison. I saw pictures of Marisa in the morgue. So I did actually get to see what my irresponsibility did to her. Not just physically, but, to her family.
Tatiana Kaiser.
And as for the students who came up with the idea, we surprised and applauded them. At an assembly at Sheldon High School, digital media students Tatiana Kaiser, John Adams, Samantha Boeger, and Ben Adams got to see their script come to life.
It was just awesome. I mean, I don't know, just thinking that these kind of things could happen to you, I think it's enough to make someone not do it.
8 voices of people who didn't grow up that differently. 8 voices who have found a common ground from which to deliver their message. Voices that are as powerful as they are individual. 8 voices that remind us we all have the power to make a difference.
In my career, I want to do something that impacts people. I want to make a difference. Because in the movie making business, it's not, you're not a doctor. You don't save lives. You're not a firefighter. What can you do to help people,
Maybe, I can help somebody else so they can see that, And it's just be responsible and make better choices.
You think you're invincible and you know it all. Until you end up in a situation yourself, reality sets in, and it sets in hard when you wake up in a place like this with a life sentence.
I'm Del Rogers for Common Ground.